Hello, my name is Davide Beraldo and I've been involved with Data Active as postdoc researcher. In this presentation, I will introduce a spin-off of Data Active called ALEX, which stands for Algorithms Exposed. What is the issue that the project has been dealing with and is currently still dealing with? Personalization algorithms, which today mediate more and more the informational universe of users, with some implications also for the political realm. Algorithms and platforms' data collection practices are not transparent. They have been shown to be sometimes biased, in certain cases even discriminatory. And what's more, they are difficult to assess in an independent manner. This is because users have little control over their own data, which belongs formally to these proprietary platforms. This also makes it difficult to perform independent and reliable audits of how these algorithms interfere with the information universe of users and citizens. In 2018, we teamed up with an established network of activists, hackers, scholars, students, and concerned citizens called Tracking Exposed. The fusion between these two projects gave birth to the spin-off Algorithms Exposed, financed by a proof of concept grant from the European Research Council. What has this project been busy with? Long story short, in the development of a number of tools as well as methodologies which would allow to explore issues related to filter bubbles on a number of platforms. It's important to remark that these tools are built so as to be privacy preserving and so as to respect user consent in the process. The tools covers a number of platforms including Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, and even Pornhub. The project resulted in a number of publications, both academic and popular, a number of reports, the participation on a number of summer and winter schools, particularly at the Digital Methods Initiative winter schools and summer schools, in a number of workshops, also with civil society organizations and public events for dissemination. You can find a list of the outcome of this project on the section Publications at the algorithms.exposed website. I would like now to briefly focus on a specific and recent test case, which has to do with the role of sponsored content within the Dutch elections, which happened recently in March 2021. There is, in general, a growing concern around the role of so-called political micro-targeting in the context of elections. In particular, after the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, this concern became more and more popular, and there has been a lot of media attention and civil society concern indeed with the issue. The problem is that since then, Facebook started a number of initiatives in order to, in a sense, allow the public to assess the transparency of its behavior in this context. However, how can we trust the same actor, Facebook, that we want to assess when we have to rely just on data which are curated and provided by Facebook? In order to cope with this issue, we have developed a project in collaboration with a number of other actors. The ASCOR, the research school at the Communication Science Department at the University of Amsterdam, INO Research, Dutch Research Institute, and the Volkskrant, a Dutch newspaper. This resulted in the customization of an existing tool called Facebook Tracking Exposed, or in short FBTracks. What this tool does is to create a copy of the public posts of a Facebook user's newsfeed and aggregate them in a single data set in order indeed to go beyond the specific point of view of a single user. The PADC FBTracks extension have been customized in order to focus only on sponsored content and in particular politically relevant sponsored content. This allowed to collect a data set which presents the actual point of view of a number of users. The extensions have been installed by almost 600 Dutch citizens. Next to this online data collection, there has been also a four-wave survey which have interrogated these users/citizens on a number of dimensions, including their political leanings, their media consumption practices, as well as more general socio-democratic variables. What is the added value of this data? More in particular, it, on the one hand, bypasses the proprietary nature and curated nature of the data sets, which are accessible through Facebook's own tools, such as the Ad Library API. On the other hand, by merging these online data, these posts, with a number of other variables, allow to bring these posts in the context in order to allow for a more thorough investigation of the issue. There are at least three directions of analysis as well as critique. The first has to do with micro-targeting and its evaluation, both in terms of the effects, so how does political micro-targeting influence voting behavior, in terms of characterization of the content which has actually been populating users' timelines in the days and weeks before the elections, and in the strategies that political parties have used in order to target different publics. The second dimension is that of exploring the logic behind micro-targeting in a more fine-grained way than what the official Facebook tools would allow for. And in particular, it also allows to investigate the algorithmic logic behind the prioritization of certain sponsored content. Third, and more on a meta level, in a sense, is the goal of assessing Facebook's own transparency initiatives. As I mentioned before, we believe that we cannot fully trust a platform when it comes to assessing whether they are being transparent or not. What comes next? We believe that this project, both Alex and the broader tracking exposed network, represent a strong case for claiming data sovereignty, a very important concept that needs to be developed not only indeed conceptually, but also as a practice. Users and, in collaboration with them, researchers need to make a strong claim against the proprietary nature of data structures, and we cannot just rely on the benevolence of platforms themselves. The second expansion of this work relates to moving beyond the West and interrogating this issue also on countries in different global contexts. Moreover, we believe these represent a form of producing awareness through engagement, and it ties towards a recent direction, methodological but also activist in a sense, which has to do with moving away from indeed accepting data curated by platforms in order to study a number of phenomena, and moving to developing so-called data donation infrastructures, which are infrastructures and procedures which allow to put the user in the front seat by requiring an active consent for the use of this kind of data. To conclude, I would like to emphasize how we understand this project as a case of data activism in practice. A first interesting dimension to highlight, I believe, is how this project and also the activity of the broader tracking exposed network represent a type of practices that bring to the light what would otherwise be obscure and invisible to the public eye. Secondly, I think it's particularly interesting how this critique to the dynamics in contemporary platformized societies are merged with methods which involve also the collection and the analysis of data in a way which is alternative to how it is conducted in other settings. And to conclude, I also think it's particularly interesting how this project involves a constellation of diverse actors, spanning between activists, technologists, academics, students, journalists, and concerned citizens. Thank you very much for the attention, and I would like to emphasize how the project is still ongoing, so it's to be continued. And if you would like to check what we already produced in terms of output and be updated, check the websites algorithms.exposed and tracking.exposed. Thank you very much.